He sent me a selfie with another woman captioned, "Upgraded." I didn't reply. Just sent the screenshot to his parents and the venue we'd booked for our wedding. His whole family is blowing up my phone. But I'm busy unbooking my future. Hello everyone. Thank you for being here with me today. Before I begin my story, I'd love to know which city you're joining us from. Please feel free to share in the comments. Now, let me take you into this story. Man, I can't believe I'm actually sitting here, typing this out. It feels surreal, like I'm debugging someone else's messy, broken code, but this is my life. Or at least, it was my life until the entire system crashed about 3 weeks ago. My name is Prudence. Most people just call me Prue. I'm 28 years old, and I work as a senior software developer for a major logistics firm. My world, my entire way of thinking, is built on logic. It's built on clear syntax, defined variables, and the absolute, comforting certainty that if you write the code correctly, the program will run. There is no gray area in my line of work. It's binary. It's either true or false. It works, or it crashes. I wish I could say the same about relationships. Relationships are messy variables that refuse to follow the rules. I've been with Wallace for 2 years. We've been engaged for 6 months, and we were supposed to get married in October. Wallace is 26, 2 years younger than me. He works, or worked, I guess, as a social media manager. We were the classic case of opposites attracting. I'm the one in the oversized hoodie, staring at 2 monitors in a dark room, analyzing complex data structures until my eyes burn. He's the one chasing the golden hour, obsessing over filters, hashtags, and engagement metrics. I live in the back end, he lives for the front-end user interface. For a long time, I thought that balance was good for us. I grounded him, he brought me out of my shell. He made me try new restaurants, I made sure he paid his taxes. It felt like a fair trade. We had a wedding planned. And when I say planned, I mean executed. I'm a project manager at heart. The venue, a stunning place called Riverside Manor with these sweeping willow trees and a gazebo overlooking the water, was booked. The deposit was $5,000, and we had already paid another $8,000 toward the final balance. The caterer was locked in for a sit-down dinner for 150 guests. The photographer, the florist, the live band, everything was signed, sealed, and delivered. We had paid off about 90% of the total costs. And when I say we, I need to be honest with you, and with myself. Most of that money came from my savings, my bonuses from work, and a very generous contribution from my parents, who loved Wallace like a son. Wallace put in what he could, but his income was fluctuating. He was a freelancer, always chasing the next client. I never minded. I make a good salary, and I always viewed our finances as a partnership. I wasn't keeping score. I was investing in our future. Looking back now, I can see the bugs in the system. I can see the warning flags that I chose to interpret as quirks. I just chose to ignore the error messages because I wanted the program to run. There were signs. Wallace was always on his phone. And I don't mean casually scrolling while we watched Netflix. I mean surgically attached to it. It was an extension of his hand. We'd be out at a nice dinner, a date night that I had planned and paid for at a steakhouse, and he'd be under the table, tapping away furiously. I remember one night vividly. It was our 2-year anniversary. I had worn a new dress, done my hair, really tried to look nice outside of my usual remote work sweatpants. Wallace, I whispered, reaching across the table to touch his hand. Happy anniversary. He didn't even look up. The blue light from his screen illuminated his face, making him look distant, almost ghostly. Just checking the analytics, babe, he mumbled, swiping up. Engagement peaks at 8 p.m. on Thursdays. Gotta ride the algorithm or the post dies. Can't the algorithm wait for an hour? I asked, trying to keep the hurt out of my voice. We ordered the wine 15 minutes ago. You don't understand, Prue, he said, finally looking at me, but with a look of mild annoyance rather than affection. The internet doesn't sleep. If I miss this window, my client's reach drops by 15%. That's money out of my pocket. Do you want me to lose money? I pulled my hand back. No, of course not. Exactly. So let me just finish this caption. I sat there, sipping my wine alone, surrounded by other couples who were actually looking at each other. I told myself it was just his job. He was ambitious. He wanted to build a name for himself. I respected the hustle, or what I thought was hustle. I tried to debug his behavior, finding logical reasons for why he was ignoring me. He's stressed. He's building a career for us. He's doing this so we can afford a house. I was running a simulation of a happy marriage in my head, while the hardware was actually on fire. The reality was, Wallace lived for the external validation of strangers. He cared more about how our relationship looked in an Instagram story than how it actually felt on a Tuesday night on the couch. The cracking point started with the wedding invitations. About 2 months ago, we sat down to pick the cardstock. This mattered to me. It was the first tangible thing people would see. Wallace, I need your opinion, I said, holding up 2 samples. Do you like the cream with the gold inlay, or the ivory with the charcoal text? He was holding his phone up, recording his coffee cup on the table. He was arranging a pair of sunglasses next to it to make it look aesthetic. Wallace? The second one, he said, not looking at the cards. Hey, can you move your hand? You're blocking the lighting. The shadow is ruining the shot. I moved my hand. I felt a lump form in my throat. You didn't even look at them. I trust your taste, babe. You're the aesthetic genius, well, for traditional stuff. He snapped the photo. That night, he posted the video of the coffee and the sunglasses with the caption, "Wedding prep madness with the best fiancé ever. So blessed to be building a life with you. #WeddingSCN, #love, #grind. He hadn't even looked at the invitations. He hadn't helped me address a single envelope. But the comments flooded in immediately. Goals. You guys are so cute. True love looks so good on you. I wish my boyfriend was this involved. He lay in bed next to me later, reading the comments out loud, beaming. He was so happy that people thought we were happy. He fed off their envy. I turned off the lamp and lay there in the dark, listening to his steady breathing, wondering why the man lying next to me felt like a hologram. But we were 3 months away from the wedding. The deposits were non-refundable. The save-the-dates were on people's fridges. I told myself it was just cold feet. I told myself I was being too analytical, too critical, too type A. I didn't know that a massive system failure was coming. And it arrived in the form of a fitness model named Cyrus. Part 2, The Lover's Debut. The dynamic in our house shifted drastically, and rapidly, about a month ago. That's when Wallace landed this new client. He came home one Tuesday evening, buzzing with an energy I hadn't seen in months. He was practically vibrating, his eyes wide and manic. "Prue, you won't believe it," he said, throwing his bag on the kitchen counter, nearly knocking over the bowl of fruit I'd just bought. "I just signed Cyrus. You know, the fitness influencer? The Cyrus." I looked up from my laptop. I was in the middle of a sprint review, trying to fix a critical bug before a deployment. "Who?" "I'm sorry, babe, I don't really follow fitness Instagram." Wallace looked at me like I had just admitted to not knowing who the president was. "Cyrus. He has like 200,000 followers on Instagram. He's huge in the calisthenics community. He's looking to rebrand, go more high-end lifestyle, pivot into fashion. And he wants me to run the strategy." "That's amazing, Wallace," I said, forcing a smile, genuinely trying to be happy for him. That sounds like a huge opportunity for your portfolio. It is. It's massive. This could double my visibility. If I crush this, I can raise my rates across the board. I cooked a celebratory dinner that night. Filet mignon, asparagus with hollandaise, a nice bottle of Cabernet, the expensive stuff we were saving for a special occasion. We toasted to his success. I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe if he felt successful in his work, he'd be less insecure, less glued to his phone, and more present in our relationship. I was wrong. Dead wrong. Within a week, Cyrus wasn't just a client, he was the center of our universe. He was the sun, and Wallace was the planet caught in his gravity. Wallace's schedule dissolved. He started working late every single night. And I'm not talking about staying at the office until 6 p.m. I'm talking about midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. returns. I would sit up, waiting for him, the dinner I'd made getting cold and congealed on the stove. When he finally stumbled in, smelling of expensive cologne and sweat, he wouldn't even apologize. Content creation takes time, Prue, he'd say, kicking off his shoes. Cyrus is really committed to growing his brand. We have to strike while the iron is hot. I understand, I'd say, sitting at the kitchen island, my eyes tired from staring at code all day. But do you have to be there for every single shoot? Can't you just edit the content remotely? You have a setup here. Wallace rolled his eyes, a gesture I was seeing more and more often. It was a look of condescension, like I was a child who didn't understand how the adult world worked. You don't get it. It's about the vibe. It's about capturing the authentic energy. I can't do that from a desk in our guest room. I need to be in the mix. Then came the strategy sessions. The photo shoots. The networking events at clubs I wasn't invited to. One Tuesday, he missed our meeting with the wedding officiant. This was mandatory. We were supposed to discuss our vows. I sat there alone in the pastor's mahogany office for 45 minutes, apologizing, making excuses about a work emergency. The pastor looked at me with pity. I hated that look. When I confronted him later, he was defensive. He was lying on the couch, editing a reel on his phone. Prue, this is actually really fun, he said, ignoring my anger completely. He turned the phone to show me a video of a shirtless guy doing pull-ups on a beach at sunset. Look at this shot. The lighting is insane. Cyrus is so creative and motivated. It's inspiring to be around someone who pushes this hard. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. I'm creative and motivated, Wallace. I just got promoted to lead dev. I manage a team of 10 people. Yeah, but that's code, he dismissed it with a wave of his hand. This is art. This is lifestyle. It's different. He was speaking about this man, Cyrus, with a level of admiration he had never, ever shown me. He wasn't talking about me to Cyrus, he was talking about Cyrus to me. Constantly. It was Cyrus this, Cyrus that. Cyrus thinks we should change the font on the wedding invites. Cyrus loves this new filter. Cyrus says keto is the only way to maintain mental clarity, so I'm not eating pasta anymore. I stared at the pasta I had just cooked for him. You love pasta, Wallace. Not anymore. Cyrus says carbs are brain fog. I was paying the mortgage. I was paying the electric bill so he could charge his devices. I was managing the entire mental load of our upcoming wedding, coordinating vendors, handling the RSVP list. And he was out playing assistant, cameraman, and cheerleader to a man who modeled gym shorts for a living. My patience was wearing thin, but I still gave him the benefit of the doubt. I told myself that maybe I was jealous of his passion. Maybe I was just a boring software engineer who didn't understand the hustle. I tried to rationalize it. I tried to tell myself that he was doing this to pay for the honeymoon. But the resentment was building. It was like a memory leak in a program, slow, invisible at first, but gradually consuming all available resources until the crash is inevitable. I remember asking him one night, when he came home at 11 p.m. on a Friday, "Are you sure this is all billable hours? You're spending 80 hours a week with him. Is he paying you for 80 hours? Wallace laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound. "It's an investment, Prue. You have to spend time to make connections. Cyrus is going to introduce me to his whole network. Once I'm in with his crew, I'm set." "Just don't burn yourself out," I said quietly, turning back to my book. "I won't," he replied, his eyes glued to the screen, typing a reply to someone. I've never felt more alive. That stunned more than anything. Being with me, planning our wedding, building our home, that was settling down. Being with Cyrus, holding a ring light while another man posed, that was being alive. I stayed silent. I kept the peace. I kept paying the vendors. I kept waiting for him to come back to me. But he was drifting further and further away, pulled by a current I couldn't see. Part 3, The Aesthetic Net. 2 weeks before everything blew up, the physical transformation started. And it wasn't subtle. It was a hard reset. Wallace had always been a decent dresser, jeans, t-shirts, hoodies, the occasional button-down for a nice dinner. Standard, comfortable guy stuff. But suddenly, his wardrobe underwent a complete overhaul. He came home one Saturday with 5 shopping bags from high-end boutiques downtown. He started pulling things out. Tighter clothes. Muscle shirts that showed off arms he didn't really have yet. Jeans that looked painted on, with rips in the knees that cost extra. He bought a pair of designer sunglasses that I knew cost at least $400, more than my car insurance payment. "What is all this?" I asked, looking at the pile of clothes on the bed. "We're supposed to be saving for the catering balance, Wallace." He adjusted his collar in the mirror, admiring himself. "It's the aesthetic, Prue. Cyrus's audience expects a certain look from people associated with his brand. I can't show up to these events looking like a suburban dad. I need to fit the vibe. I need to look like I belong in the industry." "You're the social media manager," I pointed out, trying to keep my voice calm. "You're behind the camera. You're holding the phone. Who cares what you wear?" "Sometimes I'm in the background," he said quickly, too quickly. "Behind-the-scenes content. It's huge right now. People want to see the team. It builds trust. It's all about branding." He looked ridiculous to me, like he was wearing a costume of someone else. He started wearing a heavy silver chain necklace. He started using words like lit, bet, and no cap unironically in our kitchen. But again, I let it slide. It's his body, his choice. If he wanted to go through a mid-20s crisis, fine. But then, the changes crossed the line from personal style to shared finances. This is where Prudence the fiancée stepped back, and Prudence the accountant stepped forward. I handle the budget in our house. I have a master spreadsheet for everything: income, fixed expenses, savings, the wedding fund. We have a joint account specifically for household bills and wedding payments. We both contribute to it, though recently, I was contributing about 80% while Wallace's contributions were always pending client payments or coming next week. I was doing my weekly reconciliation on a Thursday evening. I had a glass of wine, my glasses on, scrolling through the transaction history of the joint account. And there it was. A withdrawal for $2,000. My heart stopped for a second. Did the venue cash a check early? Did we miss a vendor payment deadline? I checked the vendor list. No. Everything was paid up to date. I clicked on the transaction details. It wasn't a vendor. It was a transfer to a prepaid debit card service, labeled vaguely as MKTXP. Marketing expense? I felt a flush of heat rise up my neck. I waited for Wallace to come home. It was 11:30 p.m. when he finally walked in, humming to himself. "Wallace," I said, turning my laptop screen toward him before he could even put his keys down. "What is this $2,000 withdrawal from the joint account?" He didn't even flinch. He walked to the fridge and grabbed a sparkling water. "Oh, that's for the marketing fund." "What marketing fund?" I stood up. "That's the money for the wedding flowers, Wallace. That is the florist's deposit." "Why did you move it?" "Relax, Prue." "God, you're so intense." He cracked the can open. "I had to front some cash for a location permit for Cyrus's shoot next week. His funds are tied up in international transfers right now because of some banking holiday in Europe. He's going to pay me back with interest next week. It's an investment. I'm doing him a solid, and he's going to owe me." "You took $2,000 out of our wedding money to pay for a permit for your client?" My voice rose, echoing in the kitchen. "Without asking me? Without even a text?" "I didn't think I needed permission to do my job," he snapped, his face darkening. "You're so uptight about money. You treat our relationship like a spreadsheet. You have to spend money to make money. Cyrus is good for it. He's a millionaire, Prue. It's not about him being good for it. It's about you draining our liquid assets for a third party without discussion. That is a security breach, Wallace. That is our money." "Stop talking like a computer," he yelled, slamming the water can down on the counter. Water splashed everywhere. "God, you're so unromantic. I'm trying to build an empire here, I'm trying to level up, and you're worrying about damn flowers. Do you have any vision at all?" He stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door so hard the frame shook. I stood there in the kitchen, trembling. Unromantic. He called me unromantic for worrying about the money for our wedding flowers. He called me uptight for noticing that $2,000 was missing. I didn't go into the bedroom that night. I slept on the couch. But before I did, I opened a new tab on my laptop. I started a new spreadsheet. I titled it Discrepancies. If he wanted to treat our relationship like a business transaction, I would audit him like one. I logged the $2,000. I logged the dates he was late. I logged the missed appointments. I logged the changes in his behavior. I was confused, hurt, and angry. But underneath the emotion, the developer in me was waking up. I was starting to realize that this wasn't just a glitch in the software. This was a feature of who Wallace really was. And I needed to gather more data before I executed the termination command. Part 4, the burner account and the missing night. Prudence the fiancée was heartbroken, crying into her pillow. But Prudence the developer? She was getting suspicious. And a suspicious developer is a dangerous thing. Wallace's behavior regarding his phone had gone from attached to paranoid. He started taking it into the bathroom with him for 40-minute showers. He started sleeping with it under his pillow, his hand curled around it like a weapon. When I walked into a room, he would flip the screen face down on the table. That's a classic pattern. I see it in cybersecurity all the time. User behavior changes when there is unauthorized activity. I know how algorithms work. I know how digital footprints work. People think they are being sneaky, but they always leave a trace. The internet remembers everything. On Friday afternoon, while Wallace was at the gym with Cyrus, a phrase I was beginning to hate, I decided to do a little digging. I didn't need his passcode. I didn't need to hack his phone physically. That's amateur hour. I just needed to look at the public data available to anyone who knows where to look. I went to Cyrus's Instagram page. I scrolled through the comments on his recent posts. Hundreds of heart emojis, fire emojis, thirsty comments from fans, bots selling crypto. It was a mess. But I started looking for patterns. I was looking for a specific syntax. There was one account that kept popping up. C_vibes_official. It had no profile picture. It was a private account. But it was commenting on every single post Cyrus made within seconds of it going live. Looking huge, bro. So inspiring. Can't wait for the weekend. This fit is fire. I clicked on the account. It had 0 followers and followed exactly one person, Cyrus. I used a simple metadata tool to analyze the account's creation date. It was created 3 weeks ago, exactly the same week Wallace started working with Cyrus. Then I looked at the linguistic markers. The account used specific phrases Wallace used all the time. Grind set. Level up. And the excessive use of the rocket ship emoji rocket. But then I saw the comment that made my stomach drop to the floor. On a photo of Cyrus shirtless at the beach, staring at the horizon, C_vibes_official had commented. My view is better than yours. Winking face. And Cyrus had liked the comment. My hands were shaking over the keyboard. Was this Wallace? Was my fiancé flirting with his client? Publicly? Under a burner account that he thought was anonymous? I didn't confront him yet. I took screenshots. I saved everything to a secure cloud folder he couldn't access. I needed absolute proof. I needed to see the runtime error happen in real time. I needed to catch him in the act. That evening, Friday, Wallace came home in a rush. He was frantic, practically running around the apartment. He grabbed his overnight bag from the closet. Hey, he said, breathless, avoiding eye contact. Change of plans. Cyrus is launching something huge on Monday. A new supplement line. It's a massive campaign. We need to get everything perfect. I have to pull an all-nighter at his studio to finalize the edit. An all-nighter? I asked, keeping my voice level, watching him pack his toiletries. On a Friday? Who works on a Friday night? It's crunch time, Prue. This is the big leagues. We're behind schedule. I probably won't be back until tomorrow afternoon. He was rushing around, grabbing his chargers, his hair gel, his aesthetic sunglasses, and his best cologne. He sprayed it on generously. Where will you sleep? I asked, leaning against the doorframe. Oh, I'll probably just crash on the couch at the studio. Or maybe grab a nap in the car. It doesn't matter. The work comes first. The grind doesn't sleep. He stopped at the door. He looked at me, and for a second, I saw a flash of something in his eyes. Guilt? Fear? Or maybe it was just annoyance that I wasn't cheering him on like a good little fiancé. It's super urgent, Prue. Huge Monday launch. I'll text you, promise. Love you. Love you, I said automatically. It tasted like ash in my mouth. The door clicked shut. I heard his footsteps fading down the hallway. I heard the elevator ding. I heard his car start up in the parking lot below and drive away. I stood in the hallway of our apartment, the apartment I paid for, filled with the furniture I assembled, and listened to the silence. I didn't cry. Not yet. I walked over to the window and watched his taillights disappear into the city traffic. My intuition was screaming at me. It was a siren in my head. The C_vibes_official comment about the view. The overnight bag. The vague details about the studio. The cologne. I went back to my computer. I logged into our cell phone provider's website. Since the account was in my name, I could see the call logs in real time. No calls to a studio. No calls to an office. But plenty of texts, hundreds of them, to a number I didn't recognize. I sat there all night, waiting. I didn't sleep. I just watched the clock tick. 1 a.m. 2 a.m. 3 a.m. He didn't text me. He didn't call. I was watching my relationship compile errors, line by line, preparing for the inevitable crash. I sat in the dark, realizing that the man I was supposed to marry was currently with someone else, and he had used my trust as a cover story. Part 5, Fake Evidence and the Checkup Call. Saturday morning broke gray and heavy. I had fallen asleep at my desk around 4:30 a.m. with my head resting on my crossed arms. I woke up with a stiff neck, a dry mouth, and that horrible, disoriented feeling you get when you sleep in the wrong place. The sunlight was filtering through the blinds, illuminating the dust motes in the air. The apartment was dead silent. The first thing I did was check my phone. My heart was hammering against my ribs. There was a text from Wallace, sent at 8:30 a.m. Sorry, babe. Cyrus's campaign took forever. We worked until 4 a.m. editing. I was dead on my feet, so I crashed at Mildred's place since she lives closer to the studio than we do. Didn't want to drive drowsy. See you later today. Love you. I stared at the screen. I read the text 3 times. Mildred. Mildred is one of our mutual friends from college. She's a sweet girl, an accountant, very responsible. She lives downtown, about 10 minutes from where Cyrus's supposed studio is. It was a plausible lie. On paper, it made sense. He was tired, he went to a friend's house to sleep. But there were 2 massive bugs in this code. 2 fatal errors that Wallace, in his arrogance, had overlooked. First, Mildred has never really liked Wallace. She tolerates him for my sake, but she has always told me he's a user and a clout chaser. She wouldn't just let him crash there without texting me first. Second, and more importantly, the fatal error, I had seen Mildred's Instagram story last night before I fell asleep. Mildred was at a bachelorette party in Las Vegas. She posted a video of herself taking shots at a club at 2 a.m. She posted a sunrise photo over the strip at 6 a.m. Wallace had made a sloppy mistake. He lied, but he used a variable that was easily verifiable. He didn't check the location data of his alibi. The sadness that had been weighing on me all night evaporated instantly. In its place, a cold, hard clarity settled in. It was the same feeling I get when I finally find the line of code that's breaking the entire application. Found you. I didn't reply to Wallace. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. Instead, I dialed Mildred. She picked up on the 3rd ring. I could hear background noise, the distinctive ding-ding-ding of slot machines and the murmur of a busy casino floor. Prue, she shouted over the noise, sounding surprised. Hey! What's up? Is everything okay? It's like 9 a.m. there. Hey, Mildred, I said, my voice frighteningly steady. Sorry to bother you. I know you're in Vegas living it up. I just wanted to check something quick. Is Wallace with you? What? Mildred laughed, a genuine, confused laugh. Wallace? Why would he be with me? I'm at the Bellagio, girl. I haven't seen Wallace in weeks. Why? Did he say he was with me? Yeah, I said, staring at the text message on my other screen. He sent me a text saying he crashed at your place last night because he worked late and was too tired to drive home. The line went quiet for a second. The slot machines in the background seemed to get louder. Prue, Mildred's voice dropped, losing the party tone instantly. She sounded sober and serious. He definitely didn't stay here. My place is locked up tight. I have the keys with me. Nobody is in my apartment. What is going on? He's lying, I stated. It wasn't a question. It was a confirmed data point. Oh my God, Mildred breathed. Prue, where is he? Who is he with? I don't know, I said, gripping the phone tight. But I know where he isn't. And I know he's not working. Do you want me to come home? I can catch a flight. I can be there by tonight. No, I said. Stay there. Have fun. Win some money for me. I just needed to confirm the data. Thank you, Mildred. You just saved me a lifetime of misery. Prue, listen to me. Don't let him get away with this. If he's cheating. I'm handling it, I said, and I felt a strange calm wash over me. I'm going to handle it like a system failure. I'll talk to you later. I hung up. So, here was the reality: Wallace had lied about where he was. He had spent the night somewhere else, likely with someone he was upgrading with, and he had constructed a clumsy cover story involving a friend who wasn't even in the state. He was cheating. Whether it was physical or emotional, he was allocating his time, his intimacy, and his loyalty to someone else, and lying to my face about it. I looked at the engagement ring on my finger. The diamond sparkled innocently in the morning light. Yesterday, it looked like a promise. Today, it looked like a sunk cost. A bad investment. I stood up and walked to the kitchen. I made coffee. I moved slowly, methodically. I wasn't crying anymore. I was processing. I was compiling. The system had failed. The user Wallace had performed an illegal operation. The trust was corrupted. The data was irretrievable. Now, I just had to wait for the final crash report. And I had a feeling it was going to appear on social media any minute now. Because if there was one thing I knew about Wallace, it was that he couldn't keep anything private. Not even his own betrayal. He lived for the gram, and he was about to die by it. I sat down with my coffee, refreshed my feed, and waited for the notification that would end my engagement. I didn't go back to our apartment. I couldn't. The idea of being in that space, surrounded by his half-packed boxes, his lingering cologne smell, the wedding gifts stacked in the corner, made me physically nauseous. Instead, I drove to Garrett's house. Garrett has been my best friend since my junior year of college. He's the brother I never had, the one person who knows exactly how my brain works. He's seen me through failed exams, job rejections, and family drama. But he had never seen me like this. I was sitting on his worn-out leather recliner, staring at the TV without seeing it. The game was on, some baseball game, innings blurring together, but the sound was muted. Garrett handed me a beer. I didn't drink it. I just held the cold bottle against my forehead, trying to numb the throbbing ache behind my eyes. You okay, Prue? Garrett asked, sitting on the coffee table in front of me. You've been staring at that dead pixel on the screen for 20 minutes. You look like you've seen a ghost. I think I'm processing a system failure, Garrett, I whispered. Wallace lied about where he was last night. Mildred is in Vegas. Garrett's face darkened. That little, he stopped himself. Okay. So he lied. That means he's hiding something. What's the next step? Do we confront him? I don't know. I'm waiting for more data. And just as the words left my mouth, the data arrived. My phone, which was sitting face up on the armrest, buzzed. It wasn't a text. It was an Instagram notification. @Wallace_create mentioned you in their story. My heart skipped a beat. Then it hammered a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Why would he tag me? If he was cheating, if he was lying, why would he draw my attention to his social media? Unless it was an apology? Unless it was a public declaration of love to cover his tracks? My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I unlocked it. I opened Instagram. The story loaded. The little circle spun for a millisecond that felt like a lifetime. And then, there it was. It wasn't a photo of work. It wasn't a photo of Cyrus, the fitness client. It wasn't an apology. It was a selfie. Taken in a mirror, likely in a hotel bathroom or a high-end restaurant restroom given the marble background. Wallace was in the foreground, wearing his new aesthetic sunglasses indoors, grinning that wide, charming grin that used to make me melt. But he wasn't alone. Leaning into him, with her arm draped possessively over his shoulder, was a woman. She wasn't Cyrus. She wasn't anyone I knew. She was stunning, I'll give her that. She had that curated, influencer look, perfectly messy blonde waves, lips that looked freshly filled, wearing a dress that cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. She was looking at the camera with a pouty, seductive expression, her cheek pressed against his. But it was the text overlay that stopped my heart. In bold, neon green font, right across the bottom of the image, Wallace had written one word. Upgraded. And below that, in smaller text, he had tagged me. @pro_codes. I stopped breathing. The world didn't just stop, it shattered. It was as if the ground beneath Garrett's house had opened up and swallowed me whole. I stared at the word. Upgraded. He wasn't just cheating. He was broadcasting it. He was bragging about it. He was telling the world, and specifically tagging me to ensure I saw it, that he had traded me in for a newer, shinier model. Prue. Garrett's voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. Prue, you're scaring me. What is it? I couldn't speak. I just turned the phone toward him. Garrett looked at the screen. His eyes went wide. His jaw actually dropped. Holy sh*t, he whispered. Is this real? Apparently, I choked out, the air finally rushing back into my lungs in a painful gasp. Who is she? Did he just caption it upgraded? Garrett stood up, pacing the room, running his hands through his hair. Is he insane? Is he drunk? Why would he tag you? He wants me to know, I said, my voice sounding strangely robotic. The shock was so intense that my emotions had momentarily short-circuited. I was operating on emergency backup power. He's proud of it. He thinks this is a flex. It's not a flex, Prue. It's sociopathic. You guys are getting married in 3 months. The deposits are paid. My first instinct, the human, heartbroken instinct, was to scream. I wanted to throw the phone through the television. I wanted to call him and shriek until my throat bled. I wanted to demand to know who she was, why he did this, how he could be so cruel. But then, something snapped into place in my brain. The developer in me took over. The project manager took the wheel. If I called him now, I was just a crazy, jealous ex-fiancé. If I screamed, I was just emotional noise. No. This wasn't a heartbreak anymore. This was evidence. Garrett, I said, my voice dropping an octave, becoming icy calm. Hand me my laptop. What? Prue, you need to cry. You need to let this out. I'll cry later. Right now, I need to execute a save command. I grabbed my phone. My fingers flew across the screen. Step 1, screenshot. I captured the image. Step 2, screen record. I started a recording, tapping on the profile of the woman tagged. Her handle was at Bella_Lux_life, of course it was, clicking on the timestamp, scrolling through the comments that were already starting to roll in. Bro, she's fire. Major upgrade. What happened to the old girl? I recorded it all. Every single pixel of disrespect. He posted this knowing it would disappear in 24 hours, I told Garrett, my eyes glued to the screen. He thinks he can inflict this damage, get the ego boost from his followers, and then claim it was just a joke or for engagement later. He thinks this evidence is temporary. I saved the files. I uploaded them to my cloud drive. I emailed them to myself. I created a folder named Termination of Contract. What are you going to do? Garrett asked, sitting back down, looking at me with a mixture of fear and awe. Are you going to call him? No, I said, staring at the photo of Wallace and his upgrade one last time before closing the app. I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of hearing my voice. He wants engagement. He wants a reaction. He wants to be the main character. I stood up and smoothed down my shirt. The pain was there, a jagged, ripping sensation in my chest, but I shoved it into a mental box and locked the lid. He tagged me because he wanted to hurt me, I said. He wanted to show his parents, his friends, and my family that he's winning. Okay. If he wants an audience, I'll give him an audience. But I'm not replying to the post. Then what? I'm going to send this to the people who actually matter. The people who are holding our money. I looked at Garrett. I'm unbooking my future, Garrett. And I'm starting right now. Part 7, Lawyers, Contracts, and the Cold Logic of Good Faith. The living room at Garrett's house became my command center. I didn't cry. I didn't eat. I drank 3 cups of black coffee and turned on my work mode playlist, lo-fi beats that usually helped me code for 12 hours straight. The first call wasn't to my mother. It wasn't to Wallace. It was to Preston. Preston, or Tom, as we knew him in college, was an old friend of Garrett's who had pivoted from engineering to law. He was a shark in a suit, specializing in contract law and civil disputes. He wasn't a divorce lawyer, but what I needed right now wasn't a divorce lawyer. I wasn't married yet. I was a party in a breached contract. I dialed his number. It was Saturday, but I knew Preston worked weekends. Prue, he answered on the second ring. I haven't heard from you in ages. Everything okay with the wedding prep? Don't tell me you need a prenup last minute. I need to know about liability, Preston, I said, cutting straight to the chase. I need to treat a relationship failure as a system failure. I need to know my exposure. Preston's tone shifted instantly. Okay. Talk to me. What happened? The wedding is off. The engagement is terminated effective immediately. I'm sorry to hear that, Prue. Truly. But legally speaking, why are you calling me? Usually, you just cancel the vendors and lose the deposits. It's messy, but it's standard. I don't want to lose the deposits, I said, looking at the spreadsheet I had just opened on my laptop. We have $13,000 sunk into Riverside Manor alone. Another $8,000 across catering and photography. That's $21,000, Preston. That's a down payment on a house. I paid 80% of that. Standard vendor contracts usually have a non-refundable clause, Prue. Unless the venue burns down or acts of God occur, you're usually out of luck. What about breach of good faith? I asked. What about public disparagement or gross misconduct? Preston paused. That's harder to prove in a wedding contract. Usually, that applies to corporate sponsorships. Why? What did he do? Did he cheat? He didn't just cheat, Preston. He posted a photo on Instagram with another woman, captioned upgraded, and tagged me in it. Silence. Long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. He did what? Preston asked, his voice dropping. He publicly announced, to our entire social circle and the public, that he has upgraded from me. While we are under contract with these vendors for a wedding celebrating our union. Prue, Preston said, and I could hear the sound of him typing furiously on a keyboard. Send me that screenshot. Right now. I forwarded the email. Sent. Okay, looking at it now, a pause. Then a low whistle. Wow. That is gold-tier evidence, Prue. This guy is an idiot. Explain. Okay, here's the angle, Preston said, his voice taking on that sharp, professional cadence I needed to hear. Most high-end wedding venues, like Riverside Manor, have clauses about the reputation of the event or conduct of the clients. They market themselves on romance, elegance, and love. Having a groom publicly humiliate the bride on a massive social media platform that taints the event. It makes the wedding impossible not just because of a breakup, but because of a hostile environment created by one party. So I can get the money back? I can draft a demand letter, Preston said. We frame this not as a change of heart, which loses you the deposit, but as a constructive cancellation caused by hostile action. Essentially, Wallace made the event impossible to host by destroying the premise of the contract publicly. It's a breach of the implied covenant of good faith. I need to understand the liabilities, I said, typing notes into my spreadsheet. I'm treating this as a bug fix. I'm purging the bad code. I want to recover as many resources as possible. Prue, you sound incredibly calm. Are you okay? I'm efficient, Preston. I can fall apart later. Right now, I have $21,000 to recover. All right. Here's your strategy. That public upgraded post is your weapon. It's not just a breakup text. It's a public statement. Send that screenshot to every single vendor. Tell them that due to the groom's public repudiation of the relationship and disparagement of the bride, the event is cancelled. Ask for a refund based on his misconduct. Will it work? With the small vendors? Maybe not. But with the big ones who care about their image? Absolutely. Riverside Manor does not want to be associated with a guy who posts upgraded about his mistress. It's bad PR. If you imply that you might share their refusal to refund you alongside his post, they'll cave. So I use the screenshot as leverage. Exactly. It's nuclear, Prue. But he launched the missile first. You're just guiding it back to him. Thanks, Preston. Send me the bill. On the house, Prue. Get him. I hung up. I looked at the screenshot again. It wasn't just a picture of a cheating fiancé anymore. It was a legal asset. It was a key. I turned to Garrett. I have a plan. But first, I have to make a call I really don't want to make. His parents? Garrett guessed. His dad, I said, feeling a fresh wave of nausea. Clarence. Part 8, Clarence's decision, the family bomb. This was the part one was dreading. I loved Clarence and Bernadette. Wallace's parents were good people. Clarence was a retired school principal, a man of integrity, old-fashioned values, and deep loyalty. He had welcomed me into the family from day one. He called me daughter. He had written a check for $5,000 to help with the catering, money I knew they had pulled from their retirement savings because they wanted us to have a proper send-off. Calling him felt like kicking a puppy. But I owed him the truth. And I owed him the truth before Wallace could spin some lie about me being crazy or controlling. I took a deep breath and dialed Clarence's number. Prudence, his warm voice boomed through the speaker. How are you, dear? We were just talking about the rehearsal dinner. Bernadette wants to know if you prefer chicken or salmon for the... Clarence, I interrupted, my voice cracking for the first time that day. Clarence, I need you to stop. Please. The line went quiet. The joy evaporated from his voice instantly. Prue. What's wrong? Is it your parents? Is everyone okay? Physically, everyone is fine, I said, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. But, the wedding is off, Clarence. Off? He sounded confused, like I was speaking a foreign language. What do you mean, off? Did you two have a fight? Cold feet? It's normal, honey. Wallace was telling me he was stressed about work. Clarence, it's not a fight. It's over. I took a shaky breath. I'm going to send you a text message right now. I need you to look at it. Please, prepare yourself. Prue, you're scaring me. I'm sorry, Clarence. I truly am. But you need to see this. I minimized the call and hit send on the screenshot. The photo of Wallace, the woman, the upgraded caption. I put the phone back to my ear and waited. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. I heard a gasp. Then I heard a muffled sound, like he had put his hand over the receiver. I heard him say, "Bernadette? Come here." Then, Clarence came back on the line. His voice was different. It was trembling. Prue, what am I looking at? Who is this? That's Wallace, I said, my voice flat. That was posted an hour ago. He's with another woman. He captioned it upgraded and tagged me so I would see it. No, Clarence whispered. No, he wouldn't. Not Wallace. Maybe it's a joke? Maybe it's for work? You know how he is with this social media nonsense. Maybe it's a skit? Clarence, I said gently but firmly. Look at the caption. Look at how he's holding her. He lied to me last night, said he was at a friend's house. He was with her. He's announcing it to the world. I don't understand. There is nothing to understand, Clarence. He has made his choice. He chose to humiliate me publicly. He chose to end our engagement on Instagram. Let me call him, Clarence said, his voice rising in panic. Let me get to the bottom of this. Don't do anything rash, Prue. Don't cancel anything yet. Let me talk to him. I'm sure he can explain. He loves you. He's confused. He's been working so hard. This was the hardest part. The separation. I had to draw a line in the sand, even if it meant hurting this good man. I'm not being rash, Clarence, I said. I'm being realistic. I'm simply informing you of reality. The wedding is cancelled. I am contacting the vendors today to get your money back. Prue, please. He's my son. He's not a bad person. He might not be a bad person to you, Clarence. But he has been a terrible partner to me. And today, he decided to be cruel. I'm going to call him, Clarence said again, sounding desperate. I'm going to fix this. You can't fix this, I said. I'm sending you evidence that confirms our wedding is cancelled. This decision is final. Please tell Bernadette I love her. And I'm sorry. Prue. I hung up. I dropped the phone on the couch and put my head in my hands. That was the first cut. The first severance of the ties that bound my life to Wallace's. It hurt more than I expected. You did the right thing, Garrett said from the kitchen, where he was making me a sandwich I wouldn't eat. He deserved to know. He's going to defend his son, I said. That's his job. But at least he knows I'm not the villain here. My phone buzzed again. I picked it up, expecting a barrage of texts from Clarence. But it wasn't Clarence. It was Wallace. He hadn't called. He hadn't texted. He had posted another story. Part 9, Wallace's failed counterattack. Curiosity is a fatal flaw in my operating system. I shouldn't have looked. I should have blocked him right then and there. But I needed to know. I needed to see the crash report. I opened Instagram again. Wallace had seen that I viewed his first story. He knew I had seen the upgraded post. He probably expected me to be blowing up his phone, crying, begging, screaming. He expected chaos. But I had given him silence. And narcissists hate silence. Silence is a vacuum they have to fill. So, he posted again. This time, it wasn't a photo. It was a text post, white font on a black background. The classic influencer apology format, but without the apology. It read, "Some people just don't understand the hustle. They want you to stay small. They want you to settle for average. But when you're building an empire, you have to make hard choices. You have to surround yourself with people who elevate you, not bring you down with negativity and limitations. Keep it professional, folks. Big things coming. Rocket #new chapter #no bad vibes #CEO #mindset." I stared at the screen. He was spinning it. He was trying to frame me, the woman who paid his rent, cooked his meals, and managed his life, as the negativity that was holding him back. He was framing his cheating as hustle. He was framing his public humiliation of me as a professional choice. Keep it professional, folks. He was gaslighting the entire internet. "Look at this," I said, shoving the phone at Garrett. Garrett read it and snorted. "Keep it professional?" He posted a selfie with his mistress. What is he talking about? He's delusional. He's trying to control the narrative, I said, my eyes narrowing. He knows he messed up. He knows his dad probably just called him screaming. So now he's trying to paint me as the bitter, unsupportive ex before I even say a word. It's pathetic, Garrett said. No, I said, a cold smile touching my lips. It's perfect. Perfect? It's data point number 2. See? He says keep it professional. He's admitting that his actions are tied to his business persona. He's admitting that this is a public, professional stance. I screenshotted the second story. He just handed me the ammunition for the vendors, I said. He's not just a cheating groom. He's a brand risk. He's publicly bashing the bride while we are still under contract. I opened my laptop again. I pulled up the email draft to Riverside Manor. He wants to talk about hustle? I muttered, my fingers flying across the keys. I'll show him hustle. I'm about to hustle him out of every deposit he thinks he owns. I didn't feel sad anymore. The sadness had calcified into something harder, sharper. I felt like a surgeon stepping up to the table. Prue, Garrett said, watching me. You're scary when you're like this. I'm not scary, Garrett, I said, hitting attach file and selecting both screenshots. I'm just debugging the system. And I'm about to purge the virus. Part 10, The Vendor Massacre. The next 3 hours were a blur of hold music, customer service voices, and cold, hard negotiation. I called it the Vendor Massacre. I started with the biggest target, Riverside Manor. Riverside Manor, Events Department, this is Jennifer speaking. Hi Jennifer, I said, my voice steady and professional. This is Prudence, the bride for the October 15th wedding. Oh, hi Prudence. Calling to finalize the menu? No, Jennifer. I'm calling to cancel the event. Immediately. A pause. Oh. I'm so sorry to hear that. As per your contract, since we are within the 90-day window, the deposit and the second payment are non-refundable. I can cancel the date, but... I'm aware of the standard cancellation policy, Jennifer, I cut in. However, I am invoking the clause regarding conduct and reputation. I have just sent an email to your management team with attached evidence. Evidence? My fiancé, the groom, has publicly posted photos of himself with another woman on social media, tagged me, and captioned it upgraded. He has also posted subsequent statements disparaging me and the wedding itself as negativity that he is leaving behind. I let that sink in. Jennifer, if I am forced to pay for a wedding that the groom is publicly mocking on the internet, I will be forced to share my experience with Riverside Manor's handling of this situation. I don't think you want your beautiful venue associated with a man who uses your book date to launch a hustle culture cheating scandal. Jennifer went silent. I see the email now. Oh my. Yes. Oh my is right. As you can see, this is a hostile breach of the spirit of the contract. He has made the event impossible to host. I am requesting a 75% refund of all monies paid. I am willing to forfeit 25% for your administrative time, but I will not pay for a venue for a man who has currently humiliated me to his 5,000 followers. I need to speak to the owner, Jennifer stammered. Can you hold? I'll hold. I waited. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Jennifer came back. Prudence? Okay. I spoke to the owner. We saw the posts. We agree that this constitutes a gross breach of good faith. We don't want that kind of energy associated with the manor. We are going to classify this as a force majeure event due to hostility. We will refund 75% of the total payments. Thank you, Jennifer, I said, jotting down the figure in my spreadsheet. Plus $9,750 recovered. And Prudence? Jennifer added, her voice softening. For what it's worth, that guy is a loser. You really did dodge a bullet. Thank you, Jennifer. I hung up. One down. Next was the caterer. Same script. Same evidence. Look at the timestamp, I told the catering manager. He posted this while I was confirming the hors d'oeuvres count with you. Do you really want to keep the money of a woman who is being publicly dragged by your client? The caterer was tougher, but eventually, they agreed to a 60% refund. Plus $4,800 recovered. Then the florist. She started crying when I told her. She refunded 50%. Plus $1,500 recovered. But the biggest victory was the photographer, David. David was an artist, a sensitive soul. I called him and just laid it out. David, I can't have photos taken. Look at what he posted. I sent the screenshot. David called me back instantly. Prue, he said, and he sounded angry. I saw the screenshot. I saw the upgraded tag. That is the tackiest, most disrespectful thing I have ever seen in 10 years of weddings. I know, David. I'm just trying to get some of the deposit back. Forget the deposit, David said. I'm refunding you 100%. Everything. The deposit, the engagement shoot fee, everything. David, you don't have to do that. You did the work for the engagement shoot. No, David said firmly. My wife saw the photo over my shoulder. She said if I kept a dime of your money after seeing that guy post that, she'd divorce me. You made the right call, Prue. I'm processing the refund now. Go buy yourself something nice. Or a lawyer. Thank you, David, I whispered, feeling a lump in my throat. By 4 p.m., I had made 12 calls. I had recovered nearly $18,000 of the $25,000 we had spent. I looked at the spreadsheet. The recovered column was green. I felt a strange, cold satisfaction. I had monetized my heartbreak. I had turned his upgraded post into a refund check. But as the adrenaline of the negotiations faded, the silence of the room rushed back in. My phone started buzzing again. But this time, it wasn't vendors. It was the family. The flying monkeys were waking up. Clarence. Bernadette. Harriet, Wallace's sister. Even a few of our mutual friends. The screen lit up with names of people who wanted answers, who wanted to defend him, or who just wanted to consume the drama. I looked at Garrett. "I'm exhausted," I said. "You did good, Prue," Garrett said, handing me a glass of water. "You fought back." "I'm not done," I said, looking at the flashing screen. "Now comes the hard part. The fallout." I reached for the phone, not to answer it, but to activate the next phase of my protocol, the firewall. Here are parts 11 through 17, the conclusion of the story. I have expanded these sections significantly to explore the psychological warfare, the legal battles, and the ultimate emotional transformation, ensuring a total word count for this section of over 4,500 words. The moment I hung up with the last vendor, the silence in Garrett's living room didn't last. It was shattered by the vibration of my phone against the coffee table. It sounded like an angry hornet trapped in a jar. I had activated what I call the vendor protocol, dealing with the business side first. Now, I had to face the DDoS attack, distributed denial of service, from the family. In cybersecurity, when a system is overwhelmed by malicious traffic, you install a firewall. You block the IPs. You reroute the traffic. You don't stand there and let the server crash. But it's harder when the traffic is coming from people you spent 2 years calling family. My phone screen was a blur of notifications. "Bernadette, Wallace's mom. Prudence, please pick up. Clarence is hyperventilating. We need to understand. Harriet, Wallace's sister. WTF, Prue? You sent that to Dad? Are you trying to give him a heart attack? Bernadette, it's just a misunderstanding. Wallace says it's a marketing campaign. Please, let's talk. Harriet, you're destroying his life over a picture. Pick up the phone. Clarence, missed call. Clarence, missed call. Wallace, missed call 15 times. I looked at Garrett. He was watching me with that protective, brotherly look. You don't have to answer them, he said. You can turn it off. I can't turn it off, I said, my voice steady but my hands trembling slightly. If I go silent, they control the narrative. They'll tell everyone I'm having a mental breakdown. They'll say I'm irrational. I need to set the boundary. I picked up the phone. I didn't call Clarence. He was too emotional. I didn't call Wallace. He was the enemy. I opened the text thread with Harriet. Harriet was 24, worked in PR, ironically, and had always been Wallace's biggest enabler. She was the leader of the Flying Monkeys, the people the narcissist recruits to do their dirty work. I typed, Harriet, your brother posted a photo with another woman captioned upgraded while I was home paying for his wedding bills. I didn't destroy his life. I just forwarded his own public post. If you want to be angry, direct it at the person who created the content, not the person who saw it. The reply came instantly. The bubbles danced for a second, then. Harriet, you don't get it. You're so rigid. Wallace is an artist. He has to create buzz. That girl is just a model. It's a collab. You're throwing away a marriage because you're insecure. Insecure. The word hit me like a slap. For 2 years, I had dimmed my light so Wallace could shine. I had paid the bills so he could play entrepreneur. I had stayed quiet while he ignored me for his phone. And now, I was the insecure one? I realized then that there was no logic here. You cannot debug a program that is written in a completely different language. They were speaking enabler, and I was speaking reality. I decided to execute the firewall. I went to my settings. Clarence and Bernadette, muted. I couldn't block them yet, I still loved them too much, and I needed them for the lease logistics later. Harriet, blocked. I didn't need her PR spin. Wallace, blocked. Then, I sent one single, mass text to Clarence and Bernadette. Clarence, Bernadette. I love you both. But Wallace has made his choice publicly. I have cancelled the venue and the vendors to protect my financial future. I am not going to discuss this further today. I need time to process. Please do not come to the apartment. I am not there. Any further communication regarding the separation of assets must go through my lawyer, Preston. Here is his number. Send. It felt cold. It felt corporate. But it was necessary. You okay? Garrett asked. I feel light, I said, and I meant it. I just closed 1,000 open tabs in my brain. I don't have to explain myself to them. The screenshot explains everything. But the storm wasn't just on my phone. It was inside me. The adrenaline from the vendor massacre was wearing off, and the reality was setting in. I was 28. I was single. I was homeless, temporarily. And the man I thought was my soulmate had traded me for likes. I need a drink, I said. A real one. Garrett grinned. Way ahead of you. I ordered pizza and tequila. Part 12, Financial Victory and the Honest Confession. Sunday morning, the day after the upgraded post, was strange. I woke up on Garrett's guest bed. For a split second, I forgot. I reached out for Wallace. My hand hit the cold wall. Then the memory rushed back. The photo. The upgraded caption. The calls. The cancellation. It hit me like a physical blow to the chest. I curled up in a ball and let myself cry for exactly 10 minutes. I set a timer. Prudence, the project manager, allowed 10 minutes for grief. Then, Prudence, the survivor, had to get up. I checked my email. It was a Sunday, but the wedding industry never sleeps. There was an email from the lead singer of the band, the Midnight Soul. We had booked them for $4,000. They were the one vendor I was worried about because their contract was strict about cancellations within 90 days. Subject: regarding your cancellation, Dan Williams. I opened it, bracing for a fight. I was ready to threaten bad reviews. I was ready to send the screenshot again. Hi Prudence. I received your voicemail and the context you provided regarding the cancellation. I usually don't check emails on Sunday, but my manager flagged this. Look, I've been in the wedding business for 20 years. I've seen cold feet, I've seen family brawls, I've seen grooms run off with bridesmaids. But I have never seen a groom publicly humiliate a bride on social media like that. We checked the post. It's disgusting. Technically, the contract says we keep the deposit. But screw the contract. My band doesn't play for guys like that. We're refunding you the full amount, minus the $50 processing fee the bank charges us. Use the money to throw a "thank God I didn't marry him" party. We'll even play it for free if you want. Best. Dan. I stared at the screen. Tears welled up again, but these were different. They weren't tears of pain, they were tears of relief. Of validation. Total strangers, people who had a financial incentive to keep my money, were looking at the evidence and saying, "You are right. This is wrong." Wallace's family, the people who claimed to love me, were telling me I was crazy. Strangers were telling me I was a victim of injustice. It was a powerful data point. It confirmed that my moral compass wasn't broken, Wallace's reality distortion field was just that strong. I updated my spreadsheet. Band, plus $3,950 recovered. Photographer, plus $3,500 recovered. Venue, plus $9,750 recovered. Caterer, plus $4,800 recovered. All told, in less than 24 hours, I had recovered nearly $22,000. I felt a surge of power. Wallace had tried to bankrupt me emotionally. But financially? I was bulletproof. I had turned his viral moment into my financial rescue plan. I walked into the kitchen. Garrett was making coffee. "Good news?" he asked, seeing my face. "The band refunded me," I said. "And the photographer." "David, the photographer, told me his wife said she'd divorce him if he kept the money." Garrett laughed. "See? The world isn't all bad. Just the part of it Wallace occupies." "I feel vindicated," I said. "It's like the code finally compiled without errors." "I'm not crazy, Garrett. What he did was objectively horrible." "It was," Garrett said, his face serious. "And now, you have the resources to start over." "Not just start over," I said, looking at the spreadsheet totals. "I have enough for a down payment on my own place. A place with no joint account. No aesthetic requirements. Just me." But the victory lap was interrupted. There was a heavy pounding on Garrett's front door. Not a knock. A pounding. "Prue. I know you're in there. Open the door." It was Wallace. Part 13, the plea on the doorstep. My stomach dropped through the floor. I froze. "How does he know I'm here?" I whispered. Garrett looked at his phone. "Snapchat map? Did you turn it off?" I cursed under my breath. I had turned off my location sharing on iMessage, but I forgot Snapchat. The digital leash was harder to cut than I thought. "I'll handle him," Garrett said, stepping toward the door, his shoulders squaring up. "No," I said. A sudden wave of cold calm washed over me. The same calm I felt when I negotiated with the venue. "No. I need to do this. I need to see him. I need to see the glitch in person." I walked to the door. I took a deep breath. I opened it. Wallace was standing on the porch. He looked disheveled. But not in a "I've been crying all night" way. In a "I've been partying and now I'm annoyed I have to deal with consequences" way. He was wearing the same clothes from the upgraded photo. The sunglasses were perched on his head. He smelled like stale alcohol and that expensive cologne he bought with our money. "Finally," he said, pushing past me into the living room without even asking. "Do you know how many times I called you? You blocked me? Seriously, Prue? That's so childish." He looked around Garrett's living room with a sneer. "Sup, Garrett?" Garrett didn't answer. He just crossed his arms and leaned against the kitchen island, watching Wallace like a hawk. "What do you want, Wallace?" I asked. I didn't close the door. I stood by it, holding it open. "We need to talk," Wallace said, turning to face me. He put his hands on his hips. "You completely overreacted. You sent that photo to my dad?" "My dad is losing his mind, Prue. He thinks I'm some kind of monster." "You posted the photo publicly, Wallace," I said. My voice was quiet, devoid of the screaming anger he probably wanted. "I just forwarded your own content. If the content makes you look like a monster, that's a branding issue, not a delivery issue." "It was a joke," he threw his hands up. "God, you have no sense of humor. It was for engagement." Cyrus challenged me to create a viral relationship moment. "The girl is nobody. She's an aspiring model we hired for the night. Bella. She knew it was fake. I knew it was fake. It's acting, Prue." "And the caption?" I asked. "Upgraded? Was that acting? Or was that how you really feel?" "It's just a word. It gets clicks. Upgraded is a trending keyword right now in the alpha male lifestyle niche. I was tapping into a demographic. I looked at him. I really looked at him. I saw the desperation in his eyes. Not desperation for me. Desperation for his narrative. He didn't care that he broke my heart. He cared that I messed up his algorithm. Wallace, I said. You lied to me. You said you were at Mildred's. You went to a hotel with another woman. You posted a photo implying you left me for her. You humiliated me in front of everyone we know. I didn't think you'd take it so seriously, he shouted. I thought you'd understand the hustle. I did it for us. If I blow up, we get rich. We pay for the wedding. I was going to delete it in 24 hours. There is no wedding, I said. He stopped. What? I cancelled it. Yesterday. While you were getting engagement with Bella, I was getting refunds. His face went pale. For the first time, the reality pierced his ego. You cancelled Riverside Manor? Yes. But the deposit. That was my parents' money too. I got most of it back, I said. And I'll be returning your parents' portion to them directly. You won't see a dime of it. You can't do that. He stepped toward me. Garrett took a step forward, ready to intervene. Wallace stopped. Prue, please. Stop being crazy. We can fix this. I'll delete the post. I'll make a new post. I'll post a picture of you and caption it "The Real MVP." Okay? I'll fix the branding. It's not about branding, Wallace. I finally raised my voice. It's about respect. It's about love. You don't love me. You love the content of having a fiancé. You love the safety net I provide while you play pretend. I do love you, he insisted, but his eyes were darting around the room, looking for an exit. I made a mistake. A strategic error. No, I said. A strategic error is posting at the wrong time of day. Sleeping with another woman and bragging about it is a character flaw. It's a fatal system error. I pointed to the door. Get out. Prue, don't do this. You're throwing away 2 years. I'm protecting the next 40, I said. Get out, Wallace. Before Garrett throws you out. Wallace looked at me, then at Garrett. He sneered again, trying to regain his composure. Fine, he spat. Be that way. Be bitter. You were always too boring for me anyway. That's why I had to look elsewhere. You have zero vision. He walked to the door. As he passed me, he stopped and leaned in close. You'll regret this, he hissed. I'm going to be huge. And you're just going to be the ex who couldn't keep up. Goodbye, Wallace, I said. He slammed the door as he left. I locked it. I threw the deadbolt. Then, I slid down the door until I hit the floor. I didn't cry. I just felt tired. Bone-deep tired. He's a piece of work, Garrett said, crouching down beside me. He's a glitch, I whispered. And I just deleted him. Part 14, The Diamond and the Final Insult. After Wallace left, the adrenaline crashed again. I felt dirty. His words, "You were always too boring," echoed in my head. I looked at my hand. The engagement ring. It was a solitaire diamond, white gold band. Classic. Boring, as Wallace would say. I remembered the day he proposed. He had live-streamed it, of course. I remembered feeling uncomfortable, asking him to put the phone away so we could have a moment. He had refused. If it's not on film, it didn't happen, babe. I realized now that the ring wasn't a symbol of commitment. It was a prop. I stood up and walked to Garrett's kitchen sink. Garrett, do you have any pliers? Pliers? Why? I want to remove this. But my finger is swollen from stress. Garrett found a pair of needle-nose pliers. I didn't use them to cut the ring, that would be dramatic but wasteful. I used some dish soap and the pliers to gently work the ring off my finger. It slid off with a wet plop into the stainless steel sink. I stared at it. It looked smaller off my hand. Are you going to sell it? Garrett asked. No, I said. He bought this on a credit card he hasn't paid off yet. If I sell it, I'm stealing. If I give it back, he'll just use it to propose to the next victim. I picked it up. I'm going to send it to his mother. Bernadette can decide what to do with it. Maybe she can use the money to pay for the therapy he clearly needs. I put the ring in a Ziploc bag. That evening, I decided I needed to go back to the apartment, just for an hour, to get some essentials. My laptop charger, my good suits for work, and my cat, Pixel. Garrett is allergic, so my neighbor had been feeding him, but I needed to move him to a kennel. Garrett drove me. We treated it like a tactical extraction. In and out, 10 minutes, he said. The apartment was quiet. Wallace wasn't there. But he had been there. The place was trashed. Not destroyed, but disrespected. Drawers were pulled open. His clothes were gone. His gaming PC was gone. But on the dining table, right where I usually sat to work, there was a small box. It was a watch box. A Rolex box. My heart skipped. I had bought Wallace a vintage Rolex for his birthday last year. It cost me $6,000, my entire year's bonus. It was a symbol of my support for his aesthetic. I opened the box, expecting to find the watch gone. The watch was there. But wrapped around the face of the watch was a note. Written on the back of one of our wedding invitations. I picked it up. Wallace's handwriting was jagged, hurried. Keep the watch, Prue. I don't need your charity anymore. Bella bought me a new one. A real one. Not this vintage junk. You always were too slow to keep up with the upgrades. Good luck paying the rent alone. I stared at the watch. Vintage junk. It was a 1980s Datejust. It was beautiful. And he had discarded it like trash because his new collab partner had apparently bought him something flashier. And then, the kicker, good luck paying the rent alone. He knew. He knew both our names were on the lease. He knew the rent was $3,500 a month. He was bailing, leaving me with the full financial burden, and mocking me for it. I felt a heat rise in my chest that wasn't sadness. It was pure, unadulterated rage. Twist 4, this wasn't just a breakup. This was financial warfare. I took the watch. I put it on my own wrist. It was too big, heavy. It felt like armor. Garrett, I called out. We're leaving. But first, take a picture of this note. Why? Because, I said, fastening the heavy clasp of the Rolex. This note proves he has abandoned the property and the lease. He just admitted it in writing. Good luck paying the rent alone. That's an admission of lease abandonment. I looked at the watch face. He thinks I'm too slow? I muttered. I'm about to show him how fast I can move when I'm not carrying his dead weight. Part 15, Broken Apartment Dream and the Legal Hammer. The next morning, Monday, I didn't go to work. I took a personal day. I had a new project, Operation Eviction. The apartment building we lived in was a luxury complex. The management company, Apex Living, was notoriously strict. Breaking a lease usually meant paying 3 months' rent as a penalty. That was over $10,000. Wallace knew this. That's why he left. He figured I would be stuck paying the rent for the remaining 6 months of the lease because I cared about my credit score and he didn't. He was weaponizing my responsibility against me. I walked into the leasing office at 9 a.m. sharp. I was wearing my best suit. I was wearing the Rolex he left behind. I looked like a CEO. "Hi, I need to speak to the property manager regarding Unit 4B, I told the receptionist. When I sat down with the manager, a stern woman named Mrs. Gable, I laid it all out. "My fiancé has abandoned the property," I said. "Here is the written evidence." I slid the photo of the note across the desk. "He has explicitly stated he will not be paying rent." Mrs. Gable looked at the note. She frowned. "Well, Ms. Vance, unfortunately, both names are on the lease. You are jointly and severally liable. That means if he doesn't pay, you have to. We can't just take his name off." "I know the law, Mrs. Gable," I lied. "I actually just knew what Preston had told me on the phone 5 minutes ago. However, this note also indicates a hostile environment. And since he has vacated, I am requesting permission to sublet his portion of the unit immediately. Or, I am requesting a lease break due to domestic instability." "We don't usually allow sublets," Mrs. Gable said. "I understand," I said, leaning forward. "But here is the situation. I can pay the full rent this month. But I will not pay it next month. If you don't work with me, I will have to default. And then you will have to evict both of us. It will take months. It will be messy. And I will make sure to countersue the building for not mitigating damages." It was a bluff. I would never default. My credit score was my baby. But she didn't know that. Mrs. Gable sighed. She tapped her pen on the desk. "Okay. Here's what we can do. If you find a qualified tenant to take over the entire lease within 30 days, we will waive the breakage fee. But you are responsible for the rent until then." "Deal," I said. I went home and posted the listing. But I didn't just post it on Craigslist. I posted it on our company's internal message board. Luxury 2BR apartment available immediately. Discounted rent for the first month. Perfect for anyone needing a fresh start. Just like me. By noon, I had 3 inquiries. By 2 p.m., I had a viewing. By 5 p.m., a junior developer named Sarah from the QA department signed the intent to lease. I called Preston. "It's done," I said. "I found a replacement. I'm out of the lease in 30 days. "And Wallace?" Preston asked. "Since his name is on the lease, he technically has to sign the release form," I said. But Mrs. Gable said if he doesn't sign, they can consider his abandonment note as a waiver of rights. "Prue, you are a machine," Preston laughed. "I'm not a machine," I said, looking at the empty apartment. "I'm just cleaning up the hard drive before I shut down the system." But the victory was short-lived. Because Wallace realized I wasn't just crying in a corner. He realized I was moving on. And that's when the final wave of excuses started. Part 16, The Last Excuses. Tuesday. 2 days after the breakup. I was packing boxes. Sarah, the new tenant, was moving in on Saturday. I had to be out. My phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, but the area code was familiar. I picked up. "Hello? Prue. It's Harriet." I sighed. "Harriet, I blocked you." "You're calling from a friend's phone? You blocked me? Are you serious?" Her voice was shrill. "Prue, you have to stop this. You're being so dramatic. Wallace is at my apartment. He's a mess. He didn't look like a mess when he was bragging about his upgrade, I said, taping a box shut. He's crying, Prue. He says he made a mistake. He says the girl, Bella, she stole his wallet. I actually laughed out loud. A harsh, barking laugh. Karma is a feature, Harriet, not a bug. She stole his wallet? The one with the credit cards I paid off? It's not funny. He has no money. He has nowhere to go. You kicked him out of the lease? I didn't kick him out. He left a note saying good luck paying the rent. So I found someone else to pay it. I solved the problem he created. He wants to come home, Harriet said, her voice dropping to a whisper. Prue, he loves you. He's just an idiot. We all know he's an idiot. But you're the smart one. You're the one who fixes things. Fix him. Please. Fix him. That was the phrase that broke me. For 2 years, that's what I had been. The fixer. The debugger. The safety net. Harriet, I said, my voice trembling with suppressed emotion. I am not a rehabilitation center for broken men. I am not a workshop. I am a partner. And he fired me. Publicly. But family. He is not my family, I cut her off. He made that very clear. I hung up. 10 minutes later, Clarence called. I answered him because I respected him. Prue, Clarence sounded old. Tired. I saw the note he left you. About the watch. Yeah, I said. It was a nice touch. I am so ashamed, Clarence whispered. I raised him better than that. I don't know who this person is. I know who he is, Clarence, I said gently. He's a man who values attention more than integrity. He wants to apologize. He's asking for a meeting. He says if you just talk to him, explain where he went wrong. Clarence, I said. Wallace chose a calculated decision to create buzz using our relationship. That is not a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to take out the trash. Destroying your fiancé's dignity for likes is a character flaw. It's a feature of his personality. And I cannot patch that. So, this is really it? You're done? I'm letting reality inform my decisions, Clarence. I'm moving out on Saturday. I'm sorry. I understand, Clarence said. You keep the money, Prue. The money we gave for the wedding? Keep it. Consider it an apology from the Williams family. I can't do that, Clarence. Please. Don't send it back. If you send it back, Wallace will just find a way to get it from us. Keep it. Use it for your new life. Please. I realized he was right. If I returned the $5,000, Wallace would guilt-trip his parents into giving it to him for his rebranding. Okay, I said. Thank you, Clarence. You're a good man. I wish my son was, he said. We hung up. That was the final severing. Part 17, The Real Upgrade, Maturity. 3 weeks later. I sat in the waiting room of Dr. Eris, a therapist Garrett recommended. The office smelled like lavender and old books. It had been 21 days since the post. I had moved into a new apartment. It was a studio, small, cozy, and completely mine. No gaming PC humming in the corner. No ring light set up in the living room. Just my plants, my books, and my peace. I had finished the refunds. Total recovered, $23,500. Plus the $5,000 from Clarence. I had almost $30,000 in my savings account. I called it my freedom fund. Wallace? I heard through the grapevine, Mildred, that Bella, the upgrade, had dumped him 2 days after the post because he couldn't pay for the hotel room service. He was currently sleeping on Harriet's couch, trying to pivot his brand to sad boy heartbreak content. It wasn't going well. His follower count had dropped by 2,000 after I went silent. People lost interest when there was no drama to feed on. I walked into the therapy session. "How are you feeling today, Prudence?" Dr. Eris asked. "I feel upgraded," I said, and I smiled. A real smile. "Tell me more." "I realized something," I said. He wanted to upgrade publicly. He thought an upgrade meant a hotter girl, a flashier lifestyle, more likes. But he was wrong. I looked down at my hands. No ring. Just the heavy, vintage Rolex on my wrist, a reminder of my own worth that he couldn't see. The real upgrade wasn't him leaving me, I said. It was me leaving the version of myself that tolerated disrespect. I upgraded my standards. I upgraded my boundaries. I upgraded my life by removing the malware. Dr. Eris nodded. You set clear boundaries and enforce them without trying to control his behavior. That's emotional maturity. That's actually growth. It felt like dying at first, I admitted. But now? It feels like rebooting. That night, I sat on my new balcony, drinking wine out of a mug because I hadn't unpacked the glasses yet. I opened my phone. I didn't check Instagram. I didn't check Wallace's page. Instead, I downloaded a dating app. I set up my profile. Name, Prue. Job, senior developer. Bio, logic-driven, financially independent, and allergy-free. Looking for someone who understands that partnership isn't a marketing strategy. No influencers. I swiped right on life. Wallace thought he upgraded. But all he did was set me free to find my own version 2.0. And let me tell you, the new version runs so much smoother. Sometimes the best response to public disrespect isn't a scream. It's quiet dignity, strategic action, and a really, really good lawyer. My future is officially unbooked. And honestly, I've never been more excited to see what happens next. So, that's my story. If you've ever felt like the logic in a world of chaos, or if you've ever had to debug a toxic relationship, hit that like button. It helps the channel, and honestly, it makes me feel like I'm not the only one who learned this lesson the hard way. And tell me in the comments, what's the biggest red flag you ignored because you wanted the program to work? Stay logical, guys. And never let anyone treat you like a glitch.